What happened when the expert that I hired to review my client's medical malpractice case 2 years later reviewed the same exact case for the defense attorney? You want to know what happened? Come join me on this walk as I share with you exactly what happened. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. I was furious. I flipped out. I couldn't believe it. I had hired a qualified, board-certified medical expert to review my client's medical records to determine whether or not she had a valid medical malpractice case. In New York, we are not simply permitted to go ahead and start a lawsuit because my client thinks that a doctor was careless and caused her significant harm and injury. I actually have to go ahead and obtain all of her medical records. I have to review every single page of her medical records. I have to send those records out to a board-certified medical expert to determine whether or not the doctor was careless and whether or not his carelessness was a cause of this patient's injuries, and whether this patient's injuries were significant and or permanent. In this instance, that's exactly what I did. I obtained all of my client's records. I reviewed every single page of those records. It appeared as if there was a good case, but I needed to get confirmation before I was actually permitted to start a lawsuit on her behalf. So I sent all the records out to this expert. He was a well-known, well-credentialed medical expert, and I had heard great things about him. So he goes ahead and he takes about 2 months to review all the records and tells me in detail exactly why he believes we had a valid basis for a case. So based upon his expert review, I go ahead and start this lawsuit on behalf of my client. Terrific. So now we proceed throughout the entire litigation process. Now, 2 years into it, we finally have finished all the depositions. We finally have finished exchanging medical records and exchanging other documents. And now I notify the court that we are technically ready for trial. I am obligated to notify my opponent, my adversary, that we have various medical experts that we have hired to come in and testify at trial on our behalf. And there are various things I have to tell them about, such as their credentials, such as the substance of what it is that they are going to say. All right, so now if we have to notify the defense about whatever experts we hired, doesn't the defense have to do the same exact thing? Yes, they do. So now, shortly after that, I receive in the mail from the defense attorney a document indicating that they have gone ahead and hired various medical experts to come in on their behalf to defend this case. And now, as I'm reading their documents, I'm very interested because one of their experts sounds very similar to someone that I have seen in the past. I'm reading this doctor's credentials. I'm reading about where he went to school, where he did his medical training, where he did his undergraduate training, where he did his professional training, and where he's in practice now, and what board certification and what licensing he has. And I'm saying this sounds oddly familiar, and I can't place it. I can't figure it out. Now, you should know something else. When we notify our opponent that we have hired various medical experts and we alert them to their credentials and to other things that they have done, we do not tell them about their name. So what happens then? What happens then is that now we have to begin our search. We have to dig and try and determine who this particular individual is. And there are various computer programs that each side uses to quickly identify exactly who these experts are. Okay, so what happened? What happened is that I began my search for these medical experts that the defense told me about. And what do you think I found? I found that one of the key witnesses, the key experts that the defense was going to be using to come in to testify on their behalf to explain why we didn't have a valid basis for a case was the same exact expert that I was planning on using and had notified the defense that we were bringing in to testify that we did have a valid case. And when I saw that, I freaked out. I was furious. I was so upset, I immediately called this expert. I said, "Doctor, I'm calling on behalf of this client. You reviewed this case for me more than 2 years ago. You gave me a positive review telling me in detail that we had a valid basis for a case. And I just learned right now that the defense has hired you to come in and testify on their behalf, claiming that we don't have a valid case. How is it possible that you reviewed this case for not just me, the plaintiff, but also for the defense and given us two entirely different opinions? Explain that." And you know what he said? "I totally forgot I had reviewed this case for you, Mr. Oginski." I said, "What? What do you mean you totally forgot? Yes, I had forgotten that I reviewed this case for you until you just called me. When the defense called me, I didn't know anybody involved. I didn't remember ever reading this on your behalf or your client's behalf. I said, doctor, how do you explain that you gave two different opinions, totally separate opinions, totally different opinions, 2 years apart for the same exact set of facts using the same exact medical records? And you know what he said? I can't. So what did I do? The first thing I did was to make sure I never hired this expert again. That's number one. The second thing I did was I called up my adversary, my opponent. I said, hey, I just want to let you know we both have a problem. He said, what are you talking about? And now I began to tell him about our mutual problem, that his expert and my expert were the same ones. As soon as I told him that, his immediate response was, oh shit, oh that's really bad. And I agreed. I said, yes, that is really bad. It's bad for you, it's bad for us, because now we are approaching trial quickly. Neither one of us have sufficient time to go ahead and get additional experts at this point. I don't believe the judge is going to give us additional time, even after listening to what happened here. So now we're in a bind. So what happens next is that I encourage the defense lawyer to reach out to the insurance company to see if we could get settlement negotiations going. Because now we were both in an untenable position that we could not go forward with this expert because now he was totally compromised. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to give you a scenario, an insight into what went on in one particular case where a medical expert that I hired, I actually forgot that he had reviewed this case on our behalf, forgot that he had given us a favorable review, and now 2 years later was hired by the defense to review the same exact case and gave them a totally different opinion than he gave us. You know, I realize you're likely watching this video because you have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit but haven't done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions like yours every single day and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.